Alrighty guys, welcome back to the second part of this tutorial. Now we've got all of our modeling done, at least for the most part. There's a few small details that I'm going to be adding, but for the most part, I'm pretty happy with it. Now, one thing that I did off camera is I actually adjusted a few proportions of everything. So kind of adjusted the sizing, great, just the sizing of the band, just to make it a little bit more fitting. I noticed there were pieces that like working out. So I adjusted a few things. You'll probably also notice that on these ear cups, I have some hair. So I actually added a hair system onto this, kind of give it that furry look. Go ahead and take a look at what that looks like in rendered view. It's starting to look pretty decent compared to what it actually looks like in real life. I tried to match the color as closely as possible. It's kind of like a faded white, almost like a green, but like kind of like a strange color. But we'll come back to that. I just wanted to show you guys that I did indeed add a hair system to that. And I'll go over the settings later. But let's go ahead and hop right into all of the materials. Now, right now, I have an HDRI on this thing. Let me show you guys what it is. It's called Blue Photo Studio. I really like this HDRI because there's a lot of highlights and there's a lot of contrasty areas. So you get a lot of interest. So very first thing I think I'm going to do is I'm going to import some of the textures from my old project. Let me go ahead and first do this correctly. So I'm going to open up old project, which is going to be this fan. As you guys remember, in this fan project, I don't know if I showed you this, I have some really nice materials. I have this nice brushed metal, or not, nice brushed plastic. I'm going to basically just copy that over, and we're going to paste that right into our project there. I'm also going to copy this black wire. I'm going to copy both of those things, go back to my project, save it. I'm just going to make a section, I'm going to call it materials. As you can see, they're looking kind of sloppy, and that's, but regardless, we should have everything we need in there. Let's go to rendered view, double check. Yep, we're good. I'm just going to delete the Boolean objects, and this is great. So see how we have this nice material that's kind of has some dirt on it, things like that. We're going to use this and we're going to customize it for our headphones. Now the part that I'm thinking about customizing it for is these ear cups. Go ahead and copy the material over. I'm going to hide materials. I'm going to go ahead and apply this where needed. Where else? Need it on this plate here. Again, I will be modifying this, but so far this is kind of like what I'm looking for something like this. I'll probably copy it over to this as well. And for the screw, we'll make that a different material. So far this is looking already pretty good, but I'm going to have to adjust like the level of dust and things like that. So we'll go into the shader editor in just a moment. Where's the screw? Let me just take a look at the screws. The screws are honestly, I think they're just like a dark metallic shader. I'm going to see if I can get away with a simple metallic shader for these. The low roughness. Looks pretty good. We'll do the same for here. I'm actually going to label my materials for once. And we'll grab these screws here and we will copy the same material. Yep. And then for our plastic piece up here, we're going to give this, I think I'm going to do a glossy PDSF, and then I'll probably end up doing some roughness variation. So let's go ahead and add that on. So the principled, I'm going to choose glossy, and then choose a darker color. That, yep, and then I'll end up lowering that roughness, give it some roughness variation in the node editor. Not right now. And then for this part here, this is going to also be sort of like a brushed metal look. In order to create that, I think I'm just going to grab my brushed metal from the Ducky 3D pack that I have, which is my real-time materials pack. Shout out to Ducky 3D. Thank you so much. Go ahead and see what he has. I believe the brushed metal should be over here. And there it is right there. So this brushed metal, we're going to use this, and we're just going to modify it for our side of our headphone. Now, what's really cool is all of these things that Ducky has created are completely procedural. So they're just right, hide that, and we'll go back here. Now, originally this is going to look gold. Color. Yep, it's going to look gold, and actually the lines are going in the wrong direction, so we can adjust that in the mapping, but this looks great. I'm going to desaturate all of these values here so we can get a nice black and white look. And then I'll just darker and same. Perfect. Now you kind of have, I don't know if you guys can see that, kind of have this brushed metal look, but it still kind of gives you the metallic vibe. So that's exactly what I was looking for. I'm also going to quickly jump back over to the real-time materials pack, and I'm going to grab some leather for the top of our headband here. Leave the leathers down. Look, this is exactly what I'm looking for right here. A black leather. Just double check on the way all these look. All right, perfect. Let's copy that over. Again, I'm just copying over a few materials so that we can easily use them for a project. All right, so for our top headband, I'm simply going to click on it. I'm going to apply the black lizard material. You can see that looks really good. We just got to adjust the scaling. That's the material right there. Now I just have to adjust the scaling of it to further. That looks pretty good. It's gonna be hard to tell from a distance, but that's looking pretty good. Honestly, it's probably even a little bit more. Do 150 and one. Yep. Now, when you zoom in, you can really see these fine details, but if you zoom out, you can't really tell as much. That's what you want. That is actually how it looks in real life, so we're gonna go with that. For the buttons, I'm gonna go ahead and take a closer look at these. I'm gonna do a metallic shader. I'm gonna call this buttons. I'm gonna do a metallic shader, so I'm just gonna lower this to like a black color, lower roughness, and then we're going to plug in an image texture onto our buttons. Okay, first, make sure all of the buttons have material. Go ahead and click on each one, and then we'll shift click the last one. Copy that material right over. This is starting to look really good. I'm excited to like pop a camera on this, but it's looking good so far. Another thing I'm going to double check is our wires. Okay, so this is the wire right here. And just make sure everything's selectable. So this was the wire from my previous project. I'm going to call this black wire, spell black wire. And then I'm going to hide everything else. Again, I'll back over here and I'm going to apply that to all of the wires. And this will be the same material since it's that rubber piece. Then I'll select these wires and copy over them. Now the black wire material, and I'll show you guys in the shader editor, is pretty simple. It's just got like a little bit of roughness variation to it. And I'm going to definitely adjust that according to how I think that. This is already looking pretty fantastic. I'm pretty happy about it. I really like one-click materials where you can just add something. So I think this is looking pretty good so far. What do you guys think of that? I'm going to adjust the color of this. That actually, the more I look at it, the more I realize it's not the way I thought it would. I'm also going to adjust the children aspect. It's interpolated children, which means it's going to have more than we said it was up top. Keep in mind when you adjust this value, this looks really good. Let me zoom in on this. When you adjust this value, you're going to get that nice puffy look to air particles, but it's really going to slow down your computer. This looks really good, and I know this looks good for what I'm aiming for, so I'm pretty happy with this so far. Inside the ear cup, oh, that might be one piece that I forgot. Yeah, actually, I did forget a piece on here. The inside of the ear cup, I totally forgot to model that. We'll come back to that. This looks good so far. I'm really, really happy with the way this is. Now, I want to adjust the color of this grate and the dust level on this grate because we don't really have that in real life. So we're going to definitely adjust that. And then there's also a piece, I don't know if I made it or not, that's behind this piece. Yeah, we're going to have to, on this, we're going to have to assign a material to this interface because it is not the same as it is on the. So I'm going to go to my materials tab. I'm going to select this face. I'm going to make a new material. I'm going to click on new. I'm going to click on assign. I'm going to make sure that worked. And it did, and we're good. Now that inside material has like a cloth look to it, and we will come back to that. But I knew I was missing something, and that was the inner material there. So as you guys can see, I could select any face I wanted, and then I could apply the material directly. This looks pretty good so far. Um, this right here, we're gonna have to adjust. So let's go ahead and finally hop over to the shading editor. You guys can actually see the materials. I'm gonna full screen this. So you can really see what's going on. Get a quick sip of my coffee. All right. So if you click on, should have not the correct. Oh, we got it. We're on the wrong material. All right. So this is the material that I made. I know it seems complex, but it's actually not too bad. This is the material I made for the fan, the previous model that I had. It's a little bit of a complex node setup, but when you break it down, it's not too bad. This is the dust right here. I'm going to adjust this to get the. There we go. That's a little. Now the bump, I want to double check the bump. The image map, I don't know that I need that anymore, so I think I might break this off. Plug this directly. Yep, that looks a lot better. And we're still getting that bump. You notice if I zoom in here, we have that nice bump. I see that textured bump. That is coming from this right here. It's just a noise texture plugged into the normal of the principled. So nothing too crazy there. And if you do look at the headphones, you do get that exact effect as well. So I think I pretty much nailed it on that one. That looks fantastic. And then let's double check. Oh, right. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this right. That's going to be our roughness variation. I'm going to paste it onto our plastic here. I'm just going to plug this in. As you can see, we get some roughness variation, but I think I'm going to adjust the scale. I'm going to do 0.4, 0.4. All right, I'm going to do 2. There we go. Now we have some roughness variation, some scratches from fingerprints on our piece here. It looks great. Then you can adjust the color ramp as needed. So I can make it a little bit more subtle. That looks perfect. And that's how simple it is to create some roughness variation on an object. That's why I love Blender. I'm going to do the same thing for these buttons. However, the buttons are going to be a slightly different, more metallic material. So all I got to do, copy and paste this. Now this is just an image texture here. Plug it into my roughness. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to adjust the color values until I find what I'm also going to make this a little bit darker. There we go, because those buttons are quite dark. That looks really good. That's exactly how I was going. And you can see if I zoom in, we have those rough scratches. This is perfect. Awesome. All right. So we have all of our materials set up. Am I missing any materials here? I do think that the headphones, the actual material on the foam part of these, be a little bit darker. Better. I'm also going to increase the length of the hair particles themselves. Right now they're at 0.001. Try 0.002. Looks. I don't want them to be too fuzzy, but I still want them to have that fuzzy look. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. They have a little bit of roughness variation. What else? So, looks great. The wire we could probably adjust. To be honest, guys, I'm pretty happy with the way this looks, and we haven't even done that much to it. They look pretty darn similar to the real thing. I think the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a camera angle. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go back to solid view to do this. I'm going to make a new collection. I'm going to, oh, I'm going to call it camera. I'm going to simply add a camera to the scene. Right, and I'm going to go to my top down view. I'm back my up, pop into here. Object, that looks pretty good. Put a rendered view. Let's also increase this value here so we can only see what's on here. Now I'm going to show you guys a cool trick. If you click on transparent under the film setting, you obviously get a transparent background. But I'm going to show you in the compositor how do we actually take take this and put our own background on it. Before we do that, though, I'm going to enable field. Of course, I'm going to select our. I'm going to select this first here. Or no, you know what? Let's just do it manually. I want to have some nice, intense depth of field here that I think is going to look really good on our scene. I just set it to 0.2. That way you get kind of like a blurry effect on the other part. This looks pretty awesome so far, though. I'm very happy with how this came out for not spending a crazy amount of time on it. All right, so let's go over to compositing, click on use nodes, make our 3D viewport appear here, snap to our camera. Now, this little drop down, you're going to want to click on we got to go to render view. I'm sorry. Render view, and then click on this drop down. Click on compositor in camera. Go back up to your nodes here and add in a alpha over, which should be. They didn't. It really frustrates me that they changed everything. Alpha over. All right, you're gonna look for that node alpha over, and you're going to go like that. Your input, and then you can basically just make the background color that. I actually don't think white looks that bad, so I'm going to go with that. Go back to my layout. I am going to enable the same setting. Always show in camera. Now we have our post processing where we can see our white background. All right, there's another cool thing I'm going to do. I'm going to go to the camera collection. I'm going to add in an empty. I'm just going to add in a sphere for simplicity purposes. I'm going to kind of try to center that sphere there in the center. And I'm going to parent my camera to that so we can rotate around our object. Click on your camera, shift click your sphere, Control P, parent, snap back to the camera. Now we can rotate around our object. So if I go to rendered view and I rotate around our object, which is really nice. So if I want to just get this really nice 360 view of our object, we could do that. And this looks really, really good. I'm curious because I just want to try it. What an orthographic camera would look like on this. Hold on. Top of two. It actually doesn't look terrible. It's a little different, but I actually don't mind it. Here, let me give this a rotation. Not terrible. I think I like the perspective camera more, but it's interesting to me to just at least try these things. Now, if you wanted to, you could do some insane depth of field. I love doing depth of field, so I always will run that on my my project. But now we can easily rotate around. Now, here's what's really cool about the way we set this up. If I want to swap out my HDRI and get some different lighting, I can easily do that. Right now, I have this one. If I want to try something a little bit warmer, I can try that. I don't really particularly like that. I want to try one of my favorite ones, which is the power plant. This one's always done well for me. But to be honest, you probably want to choose something with high contrast. This is a studio environment. You can see that you get a completely different look. Personally, guys, I think I'm going to go with the original one that I had. I just like the way the blue light shines on this. If you really wanted to, you can add an area light over top, but I think this looks really good. I'm pretty darn happy with it. There's probably not much more that I would change. Maybe the background. I think maybe adjust the depth of field. It's a little bit. This looks really good overall. And remember, you guys can change your camera angle and such, so you can like rotate it a little bit higher like that if you want to. You can add a plane underneath of this for extra background. I will say the lighting's good, but it's not great. I think I'm gonna add an area light over top and see if I can make it look a little bit nicer. I just added an area light to my scene. I go to my side view, scale it way up, and then I'm going to adjust the value to 5,000. See how intense that looks. It should be looking pretty intense right now. Yep. Now we have that overhead lighting. Remember, if you make it smaller, you get more of a contrast. If you make it bigger, you get that duller look. And if you make it this, scale it down like that, and you make it really skinny, you can get this even more interesting look to your scene. where it's kind of like a sharp, almost like a sharp light. If we move it along the y-axis, you can see how the lighting drastically. Also, that looks good. I'm going to rotate my empty around, see if I like this a little bit better. See, I think I might like that a little bit better. You have a lot more contrast on it, and I feel like I can really see those ear cups. You can see the details coming. Great. Let me also adjust compositing workspace real quick, and I kind of want to test out what this could look like with like a different background. Not a blue background, a black background. Turn off your overlays when you do this. It'll just help you visualize a little. Not terrible. We could keyframe it and just have it shuffle through every. Another thing you could do is you could have all this done in post production. So if you wanted to, you could just add something behind your scene afterwards. But I love messing around with the compositor because it's all in Blender, and I know a lot of people try to keep stuff within Blender, and I totally understand. And I looks pretty. You could even put an image here instead of a background color. You could plug an image in. So if you wanted to, you could shift A, shift A, image, right? I'm just showing you guys an example. You could open an image from, I don't know, downloads. Downloads. I could scroll through here. I could add any image I want. Add this cloud. I could add a grass background, this crazy looking thing. Pretty much anything, and then you just plug it into that image slot, make sure it's scaled properly, and it should look pretty cool. I am curious with this. Kind of cool. But remember, the background's not going to change when you rotate that empty. But I just wanted to show you guys that example of how that might work. Now you can rotate around and you have your background. Pretty cool though. I am pretty happy with this, guys. If you wanted to render this out, you could. I'll just go over some super quick render settings with you guys. Max samples, I'll just do 50 for right now. Denoiser, we'll do optics. Light paths, we'll keep everything at 20. So max bounces are going to be 20. And then I'm going to put my resolution at 200% for 1920 by 1920. Now, here's the interesting part. When I clicked render, before I do that, I need to double check that every single thing is hidden that should be. We used a lot of Boolean objects. I'm just going through my folders, double checking that things are hidden. See, that wasn't hidden. It is. Let's see. Oh, here we go. I found a few objects that should not be showing in view, and a few that aren't. So we have the reverse. We have to double check if anything is showing here. It should also be showing in rendered view. All right, let's give it a shot. Let's see what we have. Maybe we have it right. Maybe we don't. Click on render image. Now remember, you're not going to get that background right away. Oh, you know what? Something's not rendering here. Let's see. Unless the top's not there yet. There it is. There.